If I were a killer, I'd smile just like the boy next door. If I were a killer, I'd say I'd do it for the poor. If I were a killer, you'd bring me victims more and more. If I were a killer. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we are flying private all the time and wasting as much gas as humanly possible just to prove a point. What's going on, Andrew?
Nothing. If I were a killer, no, I don't know. Not much is going on. It's the holiday time, and it's a fun time of year, but a very busy time of year.
Yes.
And December 21st, the winter solstice, will be the shortest day of the year, Jay. And then they see. By the way, December 21st is the day I got engaged. I mean, I did not plan it to be the shortest day of the year. Okay, can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. But then the days slowly start getting longer. Believe it or not. I mean, it'll be dark at like 5 o'clock on like January 15th or something like that. So
Wow.
I don't know, but I know that slowly, the days will get longer, and then before you know it, pitchers and catchers will report, and we'll finally get the hell out of this dang winter. But for now, we're going to suffer for a few months.
Yeah, well, suffer we will. I'll tell you that. I don't know. Some people say they like winter. I don't even understand that.
I don't hate winter. I just get tired of it quickly. I mean, I get, I like a white Christmas. I like ice fishing. My birthday's in January. And then after that, it's like, all right. And I just don't like it when, the lakes don't unfreeze till Mother's Day. I mean,
right.
that's what I don't like. I want to be able to go to a Twins game in April.
Yeah.
Or something. It's just, I don't like, that's what I don't like, is when the spring, it feels like we don't get much of a spring or much of a fall anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of like we just go, from winter to summer in a month, and from summer to, September seems to be warmer than I remember it as a kid, but it gets very cold very fast, and so maybe I'm just crazy. But
I don't know. I growing up in Duluth, like, this is all different from what I grew up with. And I look at Duluth, and they still get snow by Thanksgiving. And it's sometimes earlier. I remember having birthdays where I had snow and stuff like that, but it's
sure.
A little different.
My grandma and grandpa used to chart when the lake froze over up north.
Really?
It was always in November at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes earlier than others, but and that first snowfall still hits probably late October. This is the first time they get flurries. I mean, my grandma and grandpa passed away, but my aunt and uncle owned their cabin, and they retired there. So definitely the winters, it's tough up there for sure.
Yeah, you got to be a special breed to live up there year round. I'll tell you what.
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh,
I'd go. My shorts would have to take another car.
I need summer.
Well, I like summer too, but I think part of the reason we love summer here is that we don't get it all the time. And in October, when my wife and I went to Biloxi, and it was just starting to get fall here. It was great to go for a few days.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. I'm back to Minnesota's fine with me. So I must be crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been anywhere in a long time, but
that's an understatement, Jay.
Yeah. It is an understatement.
I mean, you haven't left Hennepin County in 10 years. So I mean,
that's not true. That's not true. I find myself often in Anoka County or Sherburne County, or once in a while I get up to St. Louis County. And to do that, I need to go through others like Ramsey and Pine. And,
well, that's true. Carleton County.
Yeah.
Isani,
where Cambridge is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Isani County.
Isani.
What am I thinking of? What's up 65 there? Or up 35. Doesn't matter.
or not Cambridge, North Branch.
Yeah, but what are they in? What county is that?
That's one over. I don't remember.
It's going to bug me. By the way, what the hell was the song, by the way?
If I Were a Killer by Galactic Cowboys.
By the way, Chisago County.
Chisago, that's it.
Chisago, Minnesota.
I've been up to Chisago Lake before. I should know better, but yes.
You know, I'm actually thinking about going to Chicago next year.
Really?
My wife and I, Chicago's the only big city I really like.
Are you going to hire private security? Or?
No, but I do want to go to the Twins White Sox game, so I might need it.
You might.
Good times. You ever been to Comiskey Park?
Not the new one. Been past the old one. Maybe have I told this story before? I was probably 12, and we were my brother and I.
Right
my
off
mom,
94 there.
Yeah. So we went to Chicago, went to Nuts on Clark, went to whatever that pizza place, Ginelli's or something like that.
Gino's Eat.
And took a tour of the south side of Chicago.
Good times.
Drove straight through there, and I noticed, wow, these people have newspapers in their windows instead of curtains. And
got boards.
It was
boards.
it was different. And then we got to Comiskey Park, and we were looking for a place to park to go into the game. And the only thing that was left open, and I'm 12, I don't know any better, but people were charging for people to be able to park in their driveways, park in their yards, whatever. And I'm like, do we really want to leave our car with somebody in South Chicago that we don't know? Again, I'm 12. Now I would be like, oh, well, they do this for every game. They make really good money to do this. Exactly. And I would be in a moment, but I was 12. And so, we didn't end up going to the game, unfortunately. But
so that's the old Comiskey Park with the green seats and all that.
Yes.
Okay. I was never there, but the new one, it's a very nice park. Well, I shouldn't say new. It's like 30 years old. I think 1991, I think it opened. But so we're thinking about going to Chicago next September. So
I would like to go to Wrigley Field. I think that would.
I've been there 3 times.
Nah, I haven't been there.
Yeah, you'd love it.
I would.
You'd love it in a second. Actually, the great thing about Wrigley Field, the first time I ever went there, my buddy Brad and I went there, and we were about, he's a year older than me. We were about, I was maybe 24-ish, and we were driving, and this is before maps on your phone. I don't even think I had a cell phone yet. So I have a map. We bought a map. And I'm trying to fold it, and I'm trying to find Wrigley Field. It really is in a neighborhood of houses. That's really true.
Yeah.
And I remember I looked up, and I said, hey, Waveland Avenue. Isn't that left field? And we're both scratching our heads, and then we drive 1 block over, and there it is. Right in picture a park in downtown Robbinsdale, and that's what it looked like. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was cool. So, I've been there. My wife and I went there. We went there. Took a vacation in Chicago for our anniversary one year, and then I was there again when I worked for Best Buy. We had a regional office in Chicago.
Okay.
And I went there again. So I've been there 3 times. But it's great. I definitely want to go back for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a couple ballparks I'd love to go to. Fenway.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yankee Stadium. I'd like to go to Chavez Ravine in L.A. The only way anybody can get me to New York is to give me a ticket to Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. I don't ever want to go to San Francisco, but unless someone could airdrop me into Candlestick Park, that would be a fun place
You mean
to watch
it's not Candlestick, it's
is it are they in a new park?
They've been in a new park for 20 some years since Barry Bonds was playing.
Well,
it's a great park though. I can't remember what it's called. It's a beautiful stadium where they have the bay out in right field there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a beautiful park. San Diego's a great one.
Oh,
too.
I bet. I would love to.
Yeah.
I like the Padres anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the one game I went to is Tony Gwynn night.
Okay.
And of course, Tony Gwynn since passed away. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's got his number retired the night that I went. So it
Yeah.
was pretty cool of all games I happened to go to, it was Tony Gwynn's retirement.
Wow.
Baltimore's a great stadium. I've never been there. It's not in a great part of town. If you ever
Is there a good part of town in Baltimore?
probably not anymore. Detroit, believe it or not, Comerica Park, great place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually, if there's a decent part of Detroit, it's Ford Field is like kitty corner from it.
Yeah.
There's like a casino there. I mean, it's Detroit's it's a beautiful park. And Coors Field in Denver, I would recommend big time. That is a great play. Denver's cool. I like Denver a lot, but that's just me. And maybe that's the second best big, if you can call that. It's not a big city as I would consider a big city. New York, L.A., Houston. I like Dallas when I was there, but I'm just not into the city life. So that's just me. But
yeah, I'm kind of the same. I grew up on 2.5 acres, and I love that.
Yeah, I don't care for life in the fast lane. I just don't. So, anyhow, speaking of this time of year, Jay, we got our favorite things to eat that are you'd think would be around forever, but they might not be. If certain people have their way.
Well, that's true.
I mean, you think of your Thanksgiving dinner, you think of your Christmas stuff, and but I get the feeling that even that's under attack now across the world.
Yeah, it is. The World Economic Forum.
Boo.
Oh, I know. Recently had talked about what they plan to do over the, regarding climate change over the next many years here. And we had just come out of a 2-year period that was, about one thing, and now we're going into a 3-year period. Well, these next 3 years, 23 to 26, one of the things that they're discussing is pushing further forward the agenda with alternative synthetic foods.
What does that mean? What's synthetic mean?
Well,
like oil in my truck, it helps an engine with high mileage.
Yeah, it's made out of nylon, and no, that's plant-based foods are synthetic. I mean, like your Impossible burgers and stuff like that. They try to make it taste like meat, but it's really not meat. It's made out of something else.
So it's kind of like gluten-free.
Yeah.
I think gluten-free stuff tastes like crap.
Oh,
it's just me. I mean, if you had a gluten problem, I can understand.
Yeah, you have to.
How you would change, and you kind of like drink a diet pop. You just get used to it. But don't get me anywhere near that stuff. But I mean, you think, I mean, here's the issue with changing the way we eat. Okay. Not going to go for this, but our meat in particular is controlled by a very small group of people.
Yes.
Like 5 companies? I know Cargill's one of them. I mean, there's very few.
Yeah.
And if they all sign on to this stuff, how is it going to, ultimately that's what you're going to have. You're not going to have any. It's kind of like if Lowe's, Home Depot, and Menards all made, different kinds of saws to save the trees or something like that.
Right.
You don't really have a choice as to what you're going to buy. It's all chosen for you by some bankers or something, these evil people trying to plan the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that how, I mean, I'm sure that's how they're going to do this.
Yeah.
By controlling the people who do it. And I'll tell you what, it's really where our government has effed us over too, because of all these subsidies. These subsidies all go to absentee landowners, and it's destroyed the family farm.
Right.
So, I mean, farming the way we used to know it is dead in this country.
Unfortunately, that's true. If it's not being sold to somebody to, build another 250 home, development, it's being bought up by guys like Bill Gates.
Yeah, Ted Turner, he owns a ton too. And of course, they're all part of the globalist cabal. They may not even know it, but they are. Well, Gates does. Turner, I don't know what he knows anymore, but I mean, why are they buying up farming? I mean, they're doing so because somebody's telling them. Somebody is telling them to put this in their portfolio. They don't know anything. What does Bill Gates know about farming?
Yeah.
The guy makes mediocre software. What does he know about that? Nothing.
Right.
So, I mean, but here's the thing. So what will our favorite dishes then become here if we see? Here's why I don't think this will happen. Because I'm the eternal pessimist, but right now on this I'm kind of an optimist.
Yeah.
Remember McDonald's trying their seaweed burger or whatever?
I don't remember that.
Oh,
no.
my goodness. They had something like that, and it was gone. It lasted a couple days. It was like Pepsi Clear. It was just gone.
That I remember.
Yeah, I remember it was sometime in the 90s, and it was gone so fast. I mean, they've tried... organic has tried to be pushed, and there's nothing wrong with organic. But again, if you want to pay more for it, that's fine. But I mean, the point being that these things go in the marketplace for real, and Americans ain't giving up steak for that.
So let me read the definition here. Synthetic foods can be defined as food substances or products that are produced artificially rather than through natural processes. Also referred to as artificial foods, doesn't that sound delicious? Ugh. These generally imitate the characteristics of natural foods, including appearance, texture, and taste, and are typically manufactured under controlled laboratory conditions. Sounds even more delicious.
Taste. Yeah, right. Ever had Spam?
Yeah. I don't think they're talking about Spam.
No, but tastes like poop.
The production of synthetic food relies on identifying the genetic sequences of food items that provide its characteristics. The sequence of interest is then reproduced in vitro and inserted into yeast or bacterium components, which replicate the target proteins. Meat is produced slightly differently, relying on the multiplication of animal stem cells, which can differentiate into other cell types, eventually replicating to form artificial meat tissue.
Nasty. This is like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? Somebody shoots some DNA into...
Gross.
Yeah.
Gaross. Gross.
But
what are you going to do when that Whopper becomes a genetically altered burger, Jay? What the hell are you going to do?
This is what worries me. We've got the synthetic stuff, and they are really trying to push this stuff. I mean, how much do you see? Oh, we've now got Impossible Burger. You can't even tell the difference. We've got this, and you can't even, you should try this. Better than the real thing. I've even seen that be claimed where it's like, this is just as good as real chicken. No. Let me bring up this article from Bloomberg here. We all trust Bloomberg, don't we? This is probably something that they are telling the truth about. This isn't something where they're lying to cover their butt. Coming soon, faux meat burgers made from maggots and mealworms. Ugh. So if you don't like the plant-based, you can still have some animal-based meat. Isn't that lovely?
The bug is a maggot an animal?
Yeah, it's a larval fly, isn't it?
I don't want to know.
Yes, growing numbers of producers are exploring insects as a source of protein. Diners has
a little high in cholesterol.
Yeah. Diners have increasingly warmed to the idea of burgers being made from peas and coconut oil, crab cakes crafted from artichokes and kelp, and chicken nuggets formed with gluten and tapioca starch. I don't think they have.
Yeah, what
diners?
Mel's Diner? And
people in New York and L.A. That's who.
Well, that's the only people Bloomberg talks to. And
yeah.
I wonder what kind of government subsidies they're going to get.
Well, big food producers are betting they'll soon welcome crickets, beetles, mealworms, and maggots to the mix as well. Everyone is looking at the environmental impact of sourcing food, so there's a lot of growth potential.
What's the environmental impact of having a steak?
Yeah. Well, supposedly, cows pass a lot of gas, which is bad for the environment.
Well, people at the World Economic Forum breathe carbon dioxide out there, and that's bad for us too. So maybe they can hold their breath.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know.
So what are you going to do with cows? Are you going to kill them all?
I suppose you just stop breeding them to the degree that you won't kill them because the rich
extinct?
people will still be able to get meat.
Sure, of course.
You're going to have a cottage industry there for those that have money and can afford the delicacy of it. You see, because you can then afford to pay carbon credits to offset it.
Well, right. Everything will be, meat will become Don Perignon.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah.
The elites never, they tell us to sacrifice and they never do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your Christmas dish going to look like, Jay? What's going to be served at the old Bradley homestead? If all this goes through, you can have that beetle burger and that
Beetle burger. Stay away from some of the Acento. If you see Acento meats, run for the hills. That's a Swiss startup making burgers out of mealworms right now.
Stick to cheese.
Yeah.
God.
No, my meal traditionally on Christmas, there's Swedish meatballs. Go figure. Being a Swede, you got mashed potatoes. You got to have some cranberries. You got to have. What else do we usually have? Yeah, there's usually like some scallop potatoes or some cheesy potatoes, I guess.
That's what I like, cheesy potatoes.
Yeah, those are good. More Christmas cookies than you can shake a stick at, How was I
going to know you're going to say that?
Yeah. We always had like this green gelatin thing that it was like a mousse, a roost they call it. I don't know the difference between a mousse and a roost. This was a roost.
The antlers.
Green, yeah, right. Green roost with chocolate syrup over the top. And Christmas punch. Yeah.
What did you have for a meat then? Did you get a ham or a...
No, Swedish meatballs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I always remember us eating a ham with cheesy potatoes. I remember that being a big Christmas thing. But I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm going to my sister-in-law's. I'm not sure what we're doing. I'm just supposed to bring my warm personality and a bunch of gifts.
Yeah, don't bring bug burgers.
I wouldn't bring bug burgers if I were having Christmas at the Wallses. I still wouldn't bring bug burgers.
I might.
I can't even wish that on him as much as I'd like to.
Yeah.
What's Thanksgiving? What is the president going to pardon the Thanksgiving larva?
Yeah.
Well, what am I saying? The president will have turkey. I mean,
of course he will.
The elites will. They'll have whatever they want to.
He'll have turkey. Although there's enough wild turkeys running around, I'm tempted, to lure them into my back seat or my trunk every time I see them.
Yeah, there's a lot of turkey, a lot of pheasants too. I see a lot of pheasants. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Here is this. Part of me thinks this would never happen, but here's the other part of this. I don't wonder how many Americans are aware that meat is controlled by like 5 or 6 corporations for the most part.
Yeah, most of them don't. But Smithfield, I think, is one.
Yes, and Cargill's not even a corporation, but they're still privately owned. But I don't know who. I can't remember who they are. But it's and if they go along with it, and corporations go along with woke stuff. They're as liberal as anybody anywhere. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, think of all the things that have happened just in the last 7 years that you thought never could possibly have occurred that now are.
Well, COVID opened the door to a lot of that.
Yeah, it did.
I think President Trump winning opened to a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Because I think, I personally think that having an outsider in there made things very different. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, no doubt about it that including our topic that we're going to get into in just a sec, I never thought would happen. But at the same time, I don't know if I never thought they'd happen or if I never lived to see it. I can't believe how many Americans accept it.
Yeah.
And again, the bullying that goes out there, being afraid to speak out. There's consequences to speaking out.
Yeah.
And, your First Amendment rights are, constantly and consistently under attack all the time.
Right.
So, I tell you what, I'm not going to barbecue any fake chicken or any,
No.
I mean, you're not going to catch me. I'd rather hang myself than eating this crap.
Oh,
So,
could you imagine a nice, juicy, plant-based pork chop?
well, and it's what's amazing too is to think of all the millions of dollars being poured into this, and you think at the end of the day, for what? I mean, what are we gaining from this? Meanwhile, China just builds coal plants, just continues to move ahead of us. And while we sit here and just shoot all of our toes off. It's
no, you didn't hear the president, did you? We're on the verge of creating fusion energy. It's coming, Andrew. Any moment. Any moment it's coming.
Jeez, what a knucklehead.
Yeah, gosh, what was he saying? He predicted it wouldn't be too many years off, but then, like, the experts are saying it'll still be decades.
Yeah, it's like going back to the moon. Somehow we can't get where we allegedly already were. Sorry, just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about this stuff. Who knows? I mean, there's a segment of society that is going to do one thing that worries me is the trendy people.
Yeah.
The knucklehead that does every little fad diet.
The useful idiots
is going to try this.
Not only try it, but you're going to have a segment of the population that's going to shame everybody that does buy meat. I mean, are you going to have them in the grocery store sitting there and shaming people? I don't know. Because you see these knuckleheads.
They can do what they want to me. I don't care.
Yeah. You see these knuckleheads going into the art museums and throwing soup on paintings and stuff. And it's like, what's going to stop them from harassing people when they're buying meat? Or
I'll just claim I'm LGQBT and that they're violating me. Paint myself. I'll wear blackface and claim us being racist. Why not? I'm identifying as something. Can't I do that?
Apparently not.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought I could.
Some people can. You and I can't. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, I can't play the victim? Damn.
No.
Well, I tell you what.
You're an oppressor, Andrew.
Well, I can live with that. I really can. I'm all right with that. Like I'm always famous for saying, I was never bullied. I was never made fun of. I never did homework. There's certain things I can't relate to. Okay. And it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right. I can't. And so call me an oppressor. Fine.
Yeah.
Brush it off.
Yep.
Good. It's good for me. All right. Let's jump into it, Jay. I mean, you got another one of your favorite groups over in St. Paul.
Oh, goodness.
Starting up here they're miles ahead of anybody opposing them, as these groups always seem to be. Who are we talking about, Jay?
Gender justice.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah. Well, they came up in our last podcast, and we had no idea who these people were.
Yeah,
these groups start out of nowhere all the time.
Is there a professional group starter somewhere that literally just does this?
Yeah, George Soros.
Oh, okay. He can't start everyone.
David Brock, Sam Bankman-Fried. Well, I guess he's not doing it anymore. He's going to jail, but
we'll see. Could be another Epstein.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I wonder if we'll actually see him in court.
I don't know.
It's like Jeffrey Epstein somehow disappeared.
I think if this guy goes to court in Washington, D.C., he'll get off. So,
yeah, keep him in the Bahamas. I
don't know.
Gotta love that he gets arrested but gets to stay in the Bahamas.
Yeah. That is quite a life, I'll tell you what.
I don't know what the jails are like down there, but
probably pretty bad.
I've been to Tijuana. I'm taking a guess that it ain't that much fun. But.
Yeah, I would not want to be in a third world jail, I'll tell you that. Get dysentery and die.
Pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So, gender justice, Jay. Unfortunately, why don't you tell us what they do? Here's what I don't. Give me
right.
before we even say anything.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear the word justice, I have a definition of that in my head. And you talk about a word that's been corrupted.
Yeah.
And a word that's been abused.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like hearing the word rights. The rights.
Yeah.
You know, and I sit here and I wonder when I hear that, the right to this, the right to that. I'm like, do you know? I mean, this is why I say about politics, the truth doesn't matter. Because you hear the right to this, the right to housing, the right to health care, the right to, wear underwear with no holes in it. I don't know. And I listen to that and I just go, golly, we have to be the dumbest country on earth. I mean, we just have to be.
The emperor has no clothes. And just to be trendy, just to not be attacked verbally, we'll go along with whatever they say, no matter how stupid it is. Even though we know it's a lie. We know it's a lie, but we'll still go ahead with it because we don't want to have to deal with a confrontation.
This is how empires fall.
Yeah. It's true. They give wind to every.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
What is the difference? And some people will chastise me for saying this. What's the difference between having our media colluding with our government and social media, Silicon Valley, all on the same page? What's the difference between that and having a Politburo?
None.
Where, Animal Farm, where a group decides something for everybody else. Uh-huh. Tell me what the difference is.
There is none. And really, they'll want to tell you, because it's America, after all, this is just how a republic works. No, we don't go and make something of your own fashion. We elect you to go represent us and the Constitution. And to figure out a way forward, obeying the Constitution and taking into account the will of the people.
Well, we're about as far from that as I can't believe how far we're so far from that. It's amazing just in our lifetimes how far we've come away from that. We're nothing like that at all.
No.
Anyhow, but I was just going to say the word rights, the word justice. I mean, the word liberty.
Yeah.
It's like you hear words all the time. I just wonder what do you think they mean? I just want to hear somebody who says we have the right to own a house. I just want to know the definition of the word rights from somebody like that.
Yeah, I agree. This is the thing. We believe, you and me, that our rights are handed down to us from our Creator. That God establishes certain rights that cannot be violated. They believe that rights are granted by man. That government has the ability to say, this is something you have a right to. And so, in essence, it puts government in the role of God and elevates man to a level he was never meant to, he, she, they, it, was, whatever, was never meant to occupy. So because of that...
Well, it's just... I don't know. I just cannot get over how bad these words are abused and how little... it's like I always say, you can't run for office and educate people at the same time, and it's really the truth, because no one will take the time to understand. I mean, even you mentioned the Constitution, our founding. That's why I say Constitution means nothing.
Yeah,
because no one follows it. So to pound it into people just doesn't do any good. They don't want to listen, and then that's a reality that I don't like, but it's the truth. I mean, if you think government grants you rights. Okay, first off, that means government can take them away.
Absolutely, they can.
If the government's the center of the all being.
I mean, look to any civilization where government has been the center, end all, be all of everything. You look at
any
Germany, at
communist country,
Soviet Union,
yeah.
at China, at Vietnam, at North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they mix it with religion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many tribal countries still. I mean, it's incredible. Look at the entire continent of Africa, with a handful of exceptions. Not many, though.
Right.
And you have, look, remember apartheid? You remember that? Just back in, I want to say in the 90s. That wasn't that long ago. Mm-hmm. That ended. So
yeah, it took rights away from all of the black people in South Africa, and
the people who actually lived there. You mean?
Yeah. Gave all the rights to the white people in South Africa.
Yeah.
But I think it goes further than that, as we're seeing now in South Africa and Mozambique with the revolt against the farmers and trying to take land away. So now white people and black people that are landowners are losing their right to own land that they own.
Right. And that's all, again, part of the whole globalist thing is that, nobody owns land, that nobody needs government's going to decide and dole out who can own what, and what you need is their call, not yours.
Right.
We've talked about the origins of Agenda 21 same way. So
right.
This is all Agenda 21 stuff under a different name. If you want to go back and research this, go back to 1992, go back to the Rio plus 10.
Yeah.
And you'll see same kind of thing.
Well, and like every year, we're having a new COP 20, COP 21, COP 25. They just had it recently.
And we had it in the United States, Council on Sustainability that President Clinton put forth. So, awful stuff. Anyway, go ahead. Back, no more wordsmithing. Back to what the gender, whatever they're called.
Gender justice. Yeah, you can find this at genderjustice.us in case you want to play
That's
along
us.
at home.
Like Herb Carneal says, you want to score at home.
Yeah. All right. So, about us, gender justice, in their own words, envisions a world where everyone can thrive, regardless of their gender expression, or sexual orientation. Step by step, we're creating that world by dismantling legal, structural, and cultural barriers that contribute to gender inequity. We work to ensure that people of all genders have a meaningful right to bodily autonomy, safety, health, and opportunity.
Bodily autonomy?
Yes.
The hell is that?
They're not fighting for babies to have bodily autonomy, I assume. They're part of the mother and can just be killed at will.
I would imagine.
I will find that out soon. So our mission is to advance gender equity through the law, which means they want to get new laws made. They want to, they have a legal branch taking people to court and stuff like that.
Of course they do.
Yeah. It's never the wrong time to fight for people's rights, they say. They take a movement-based approach. Our vision is ambitious, and we know that we cannot achieve it alone. We are committed to working in partnership with other organizations and groups directly affected by gender inequity. This includes engaging with communities and partners who share our vision to help us understand what priorities are most urgent and what opportunities might exist in the field. They take an intersectional approach. We know that people who experience gender oppression are also affected by racism, ableism, poverty, and other forms of oppression. That's why we partner with allies across the social justice space to ensure that all of our work reflects intersecting identities and experiences and an understanding of gender, racial, reproductive, and economic justice. We've talked about intersectionality on this program before, where it's how many boxes you check off. They listed a number of them here: racism, ableism, poverty. Being a part of this intersectionality matrix is really like one of the most depressing things on earth. It's like walking into a room or better yet, stepping onto a Metro Transit bus. It is where everybody's just depressed. It's all about how oppressed you are, and whoever is the most oppressed is the king of the hill. So it's terrible. I wouldn't want to be a part of that party.
No.
Ugh.
Yuck.
Yeah. You have some creepy kid in the corner trying to get you to try the crab dip. I don't know. Never mind. Ugh.
Yeah, never mind what Jacob Fry does.
They talk about, we know the law alone isn't enough. The law is a necessary tool for achieving systems level change, but it's not enough. Because remember, racism is systemic, and every kind of gender oppression, whatever, also systemic. Okay, so they got to change systems.
So by gender oppression, they're talking about trans, right? They're not talking about women necessarily.
It depends, and we'll find that out. But it depends. Building and sustaining a world free of gender barriers also requires community organization, education, and changing the way we talk and think about gender. And they are brave. Our legal strategy is founded on the belief that now is the right time to fight for people's rights. We work closely with movement partners and are not afraid to rock the boat when necessary. We understand that as long as gender barriers exist in the law, more and more people and communities will be harmed. It's never the wrong time to fight for people's rights. The Beastie Boys might agree with you.
Fight for your right to party.
Do you think they fight for that right?
No. Not at all.
That would be fun.
Unless it's a trans bathroom or
that's
something.
not in the intersectionality matrix.
Well,
The party, yes.
Well, and again, I mean, gender justice, again, is such a, like I said, I have my view on what that means.
Yeah.
But when I read these people, it's anything but that, because again, let's be blunt here, Jay. There's two genders.
Yes.
I'm sorry, there are. You're either born with an XY chromosome or you're not.
Right.
Nothing changes that. You can't change that.
You mean if you put on a dress and a wig and...
No, you can't identify as whatever you want to. I mean, and that's, again, it's a lie. It's anti-science.
Yeah.
Which I've gotten lectured by people, that I don't understand science because I don't believe that we should be, locked in our houses because the Chinese virus is out there.
Yeah.
So I think it is nonsense on its face. Now, having said that, I am for equal opportunity for anybody.
Yes.
I don't support discrimination. My definition of discrimination, though,
right,
is probably something that does not concur with these folks.
Right. Equal opportunity means that men can put on a ladies' swimsuit and go race against other women, or can jump in the ring with a woman and bust her eye socket.
Well, they can, but they can't be called women doing it. I mean, let's be honest with who they are.
Yeah.
It isn't fair. I mean, if I can identify as whatever I want to, okay, I'm going to identify as I guess we'll call him, I'm going to be a Native American today. No, that's how I identify. You can't criticize it. You can't tell me I'm wrong. And I'm going to go knock on Grand Casino and I'm going to say, hey, where's my half? Where's my chunk of this? Mm-hmm. I'm identifying right now as a Max or tribe of Ojibwe. I am that. Now, are they going to hand me a check or are they going to say, get the hell out of here? Get out of here, Sitting Bull. You're not part of us.
That sounds kind of racist.
Fine.
No?
Well, but I'm giving it's a
not
dumb,
on your part.
It's a dumb example, but that's where we're headed.
It
where
is.
I can just say, okay, I'm identifying as this today.
It's make believe is what it is, and we're entering. We're not entering. We're here. We're I think people are, not all people, but there's a chunk of people, a segment of society that is unable to tell the difference between reality and make-believe. And it's only going to get worse as we get more into, the metaverse and all that kind of stuff, where we're in a virtual reality and we can be anything we want to be. It's only going to reinforce that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, there's like this disassociation with reality, and there are mental issues with that, and we used to call that gender dysphoria when we're talking about gender. It had a name.
Yeah, now that's like conversion therapy or something. It's evil.
Yeah.
But gender dysphoria was what though exactly? Where you thought you were something else, but you really weren't?
Yeah. You were confused about your gender and you thought maybe you were born in the wrong body or whatever. And most people, if left alone, grow out of it.
Sure. But we don't allow that anymore though. We don't allow kids to be kids.
In fact, we push them into certain things.
I think we push them I think we confuse the hell out of them, and we do it on purpose. I don't know why. I don't get why would you do that. That's what I just don't get. Why would you take a 12-year-old and somebody who, quite frankly, is not at an age where they really should be? When I was 12, this stuff was so far from my mind. Yeah. I mean, I was, like I said, I had the greatest childhood on earth. Nobody pushed anything on me, including the public schools that I remember.
I think there's a couple of reasons for this, though. One is the breakdown of the family, which asserts more government control, right? And then the other one is just by confusing people as to who they are and what they are, it is a lot easier for the government to control the individual as well, building up an army of buffoons.
I'm gonna add a third one.
Yeah,
the destruction of faith in this country.
That's true.
Because somebody with a strong faith is not, even if one of their parents is if their parents are divorced or something, because you could still have great parents even if they're not married.
Yeah. But
you don't have that faith. You don't have that bedrock of core. Again, whatever your faith is, then you don't. It's kind of like, this is a bad comparison, but it's kind of like somebody who wants to make a cult. They go after the people that are vulnerable. They go after the people who have no direction. They go after the people who don't have role models in their lives. That's the person who's susceptible to, because people yearn for that. They yearn for somebody to follow. They yearn for, people want structure in their lives.
Yeah.
Even though they think you don't. You do.
Right.
It's kind of like a dog. A dog wants to know what they can eat and what they can't, where they can run and where they can't.
Yeah.
They want those boundaries. Another thing, if you don't have bedrock principles in you, then, it's kind of like you don't have any.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect storm, really, because all those institutions are under attack. And unfortunately, some of the faiths are going along with some of this stuff, too. I mean, it's not just, there's plenty of churches that are abandoning everything they've been teaching for centuries.
Absolutely. And whether it's just to try and be attractive to get new people in the doors, or whether it is to find favor with the government, it's just never the right way to go. But it is. And because they're stripping people away from their faith, then it empowers a whole generation of people to break the law, to, go into these. Because if you don't know who you were created to be, if you believe in a creator God that creates each of us, puts a passion and a purpose inside each of us, but then you strip people away from that, they're rudderless. They don't know why they're around. They don't understand why they were made. They think they weren't made at all, and that life really has no purpose. And so you see a rise in depression and things like that. But also, like, this is the last thing I'll touch on from their About Us page. They seek solutions outside of the criminal legal system. That's another thing they do. So they recognize that the criminal legal system disproportionately harms low-income LGBTQ and communities of color, and they reject laws and policies that promote incarceration. And we advocate for positive solutions beyond our current system of punishment and incarceration. So again, you're talking about when people lose faith and crime is on the increase, and then we strip away the ability to deter crime on top of it.
Well,
everybody's running around nuts.
Well, again, and I reject the premise. I reject the premise that our justice system or that our law enforcement targets lower and middle income.
No.
I disagree with that. I think there are elements where lower and middle people are disadvantaged. I don't think it has anything to do with their color, though. I mean, you can't afford a lawyer at $400 an hour. I mean, that is a barrier to justice, or it could be.
Yeah.
But it's got nothing to do with crimes you commit, or, it has nothing to do with being transsexual. That's go ask Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner if he or she can't afford a lawyer. I mean, come on. Yeah. Those things they're red herrings to what the truth really is. And it's just more victim playing.
Right.
Ultimately it's playing the victim. But, the idea that it still amazes me today, anybody that a 10, 12, I mean, look, here's the thing. Kids, you can tell when an adult has put an idea in a kid's head.
Yeah.
Because of how they speak. I know how I spoke when I was 9, 10, 11, 12. And gender justice would never be something that would come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so that where this is coming from, this is adults pushing this on young people. Young people are the future, meaning
right.
If you can shape their minds and shape their opinions and do things like that, you have the next generation of people. That's why college campuses have always been places where, things have whether it's anti-war stuff or all that, has been cultivated, because and some people grow out of that and some people don't.
Right. So I don't know. This group, I had never heard of them before last week. Supposedly they've been around about 10 years. But to answer your question from earlier about how this is, just about trans stuff, it's not. They fight for economic justice, reproductive freedom and justice, freedom from gender-based violence, and trans and LGBTQ liberation.
Gender-based violence.
Yes. So is
this if a gay person gets killed, it's automatically a hate crime?
Well, let's see here. Central to their work in that area is dismantling the legal, political, and structural barriers to gender equity, whatever that means.
So we've gone from the ERA to, gender-based equity.
Gender justice. There's no gender justice without safety from sexual harassment or gender-based violence. We fight on behalf of the many folks whose bodies have long been sites of violence and exploitation, working to upend unhealthy power dynamics and restore autonomy.
I want to meet the person who sexually harasses a trans person.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to...
Whatever trans means, I still don't really understand what it means.
Right.
I mean, does that mean you identify as something? Does that mean you've taken a hedge clippers and snipped off certain things? Does that mean you're taking drugs? Or I don't really understand that, but
yeah,
I'd like to see I'd like to see that person who's sexually harassed. The inappropriate. Is that like Crocodile Dundee, where they're inappropriately touching? Remember the drag queen that tried to pick him up. Remember that scene?
I don't. I I remember seeing the movie. It was a long time ago, since the last time I've seen it. I remember a few things about
it. It's a guy.
I remember that line. Yes.
Is that sexually harassing? Somebody who identifies as something else?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, drag queen. Female impersonator. I'm sorry, okay?
I think you can still use the term drag queen.
Why not?
They identify as that. So
I'll let the offended decide what's offensive.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I'm just going to be me, and then they'll have to deal with it. And I wonder, too, when they talk about fighting on behalf of the many folks whose bodies have long been sites of violence and exploitation, what are they doing with the human trafficking down on the border?
Yeah.
What are they doing to make sure that kids aren't getting raped anymore and trafficked by cartel members? How are they being involved in that? Because I'm sure we're getting a lot of people coming up to Minnesota from the border,
and I'm sure they support prostitution and things like that. I mean, if you support, because again, those are victims too.
Yeah,
but it's also human trafficking, no matter how you slice it or dice it.
Oh yeah, here's an article threatened with deportation. So sure.
Well, I'm sure that's some trans person cleaning a hotel that didn't have their green card, and
yeah.
Once again, so not only are they a victim because they're not a citizen, and they should just be given that, even though citizenship is supposed to be earned.
Yes.
So of course they have to stay. I mean, can't get rid of people who come here illegally.
Right. What were we thinking?
Well, how about the trans athlete stuff? I mean,
yeah.
The idea that
well, they got a whole section on that here too. So
in fact, here's what they say, quote, women's sports are stronger when they prioritize gender equity and inclusion, but trans athletes are still being shut out from competing in the sports they love. No, you're not.
Just compete as a man.
Yeah, you're not being shut out at all.
Okay, maybe if synchronized swimming is your thing, you can't really find a group of men to do that with. I find it a little weird.
Well, but I mean, the idea that you can identify as something and then we are destroying women's sports. I mean, we may as well repeal Title IX.
Right.
Title IX has no meaning.
Yeah. Well,
if a man can identify as a woman and then compete in a woman's sport.
Yeah.
Where is our Supreme Court on this? And here's another thing too. You had that one airhead that's on the Supreme Court now.
Oh yeah.
Who couldn't say what a woman, and I'll tell you what, the Republicans did one bad job.
Jackson Brown.
Yeah, they did one bad job because they mocked her a lot, but they did not question her legally.
Right.
If you can't identify a woman, then any case involving a man or a woman should be thrown out and overturned.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what those are, then you can't rule on any of that stuff.
Yeah.
How can you? By the way, here's another thing I want to say. Where are the women's rights groups?
Well,
where are they?
I know there have been at least individuals speaking out.
Individuals, yes.
Yes.
But no major women's rights groups that I know of. Where are the people who fought for Title IX? Where are they?
I don't know. They should be. They're organized enough to go lobby. Why are they not lobbying?
You know what? I will say this straight out. I will march in lockstep with them on this issue.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'll disagree with them step by step with those folks if they would take a stand against this stuff. And again, what's going on, what's going on. They are afraid to speak out. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening.
Yep.
Where's the National Organization of Women? The NAGs. Nows. Where are they?
Yeah.
How in the world can they support any of this stuff? It flies in the face of everything they've gone after.
Yeah, I don't know.
Birthing people?
It just robs women of all their dignity.
It robs women of any identity at all. They have none.
Right.
Where's the National Organization of Women? Who you want a 40-year-old man in a bathroom with a 12-year-old girl? 30 years ago, the guy would have been arrested for going in there.
Yep.
Now it's, you got to see what he identifies as. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, this is how they feel. Now we've got these groups like this that are well funded, well equipped. They've got lawyers to work on their behalf. Here's what they say: when trans women are excluded from participation on teams that align with their gender identity, they are often excluded from participating altogether. Discrimination and exclusion inflicts stigma and causes long-lasting harm to trans people. This exclusion is even more disturbing considering the stigma and violence trans people already face in our society. I don't see trans people getting beat up when I'm out and about.
What?
Do you?
No.
Is there a stigma? Well, I think there should be. You're a man who's dressing like a woman, or a woman who's dressing like a man, or taking further steps, and you're doing harm to your body. There should be a stigma there because, like I said before, it actually was classified as a mental illness.
Well, and I would take it a step further. Look, I still support adults. There's a certain degree, the libertarian streak in me. It's like, okay, if they want to dress like a woman, whatever. It's not my problem. But when it becomes something that we have this segment of our society that tells us that we cannot make judgments no matter what. Unless you're white and Christian, we can't judge you. And there's no such thing as right and wrong. We're all just shades of gray. We all know that's a lie. You know what the right things are to do and what the wrong things are. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
You're an adult. You know them. You just don't do them all the time. And the idea that it's being normalized that a woman dresses like a man, or that a man dresses like a woman, and that's something I should just ignore when I see it. I should just, it's just no big deal.
Right.
I mean, the idea that that's normal. That's like, somebody naked walking down this. That's normal. No big deal. Can't judge them. They're just identifying as something.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, stigma is they use that word again to play the victim. And quite frankly, they're making themselves. They're doing this to themselves.
Right.
So you want to do this, then you bear the consequences of it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not on me to make you normal. I don't think.
No.
What's normal? Is there a normal anymore? I mean,
it's really not a normal anymore. Everything's normal. Yet. Yeah, I don't get it. But yeah, so they deal with all this stuff. And they also deal in abortion. So while recognizing that men have the right to dress up as women and overrun actual women, they will protect women when it comes to getting an abortion. And then they'll call it out as it is. And men don't have any place in that realm.
You mean birthing people?
Birthing people. No. We all know, and as do they, there is no man who has ever been pregnant or ever will be. Not a real man that has been born as a man with an XY chromosome. Nope.
Well, we still call it birthing people because that's what they want to be called.
That is not what they want to be called. That is what these people want them to be called.
Same difference.
So, yes, they work hand in hand with Unrestrict Minnesota, which is an abortion rights group. And, they definitely want... They're coming up with something for... they call it Minnesota Beyond Roe. It's the leadership agenda for abortion access. And they try to say, even though that our state constitution protects abortion, that people who want abortions are still being discriminated against.
Of course,
And their rights are being restricted.
Always being discriminated against. That's. Here's an interesting thing here. They talk about keeping birth control copay free, whatever that means. Even if you don't use birth control now, chances are that you or a partner, parent, sibling, or child will at some point in your life. 99% of sexually active women in the United States, women, you mean people who identify as women, use one or more forms of birth control in their life. Well, how about men? Don't they use forms too?
Yeah.
Okay. Being on control means being in control. Yippee. And this is funny here because this is where they talk about women.
Right. Like actual women.
33% of the wage gains women have made since the 1960s have been the result of access to oral contraceptives. What? Unintended pregnancies are at a historic lows. They are? Does it seem like that to you?
No.
And it's not just women who need birth control. Transgender, non-conforming people rely on birth control too. Really? How?
Yeah.
How can a man identifying as a woman get pregnant?
Yeah. They can't. He cannot. And this is what confused me when all the Roe stuff was going on, and you had all the women with their signs and you save abortion and blah 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 blah, and then you see all these people waving gay and trans flags, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you're not getting pregnant. If you are a man with a man, you can't make your partner pregnant, and you can't get pregnant. If you're a woman with a woman, you can't get anybody pregnant, and you're not going to get pregnant.
And if a woman and a woman, one of them does carry a child, why would they abort the child?
Right. It would have to be done on purpose.
Yeah, it would be done like in a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
So how in the world would they get an abortion? And you got to love our media. You got to love them, breaking all this down for us.
Oh, of course. They've made it so crystal clear.
But I mean, here we go again, though, of where this is going to be. And you talk about going, let me go back to local government for a second. This is going to be pushed on our schools, be pushed on our counties and cities.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to be pushed to add health coverage for this. And they're going to get in the schools so they can get in the young heads of mush. And once again, this is just another area where you're going to have to fight.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of fighting, isn't it? It's, but, the things that they want to do, I don't know. They want to repeal Minnesota's unnecessary restrictions on abortion care. You tell me what those are, because pretty much right now I think that I don't like them. I don't want them, but by going radical, that is about the only way that I think it's restricted at this point. Protect patients and providers from post-Roe attacks. Really, you show me one article where patients or providers have been attacked by somebody that wants to restrict abortion. And sure, it's been the other way around, with bricks through windows, setting women's clinics on fire, trying to repeal their tax status. It's been the other way around. Ensure equitable and affordable access to abortion care, which they say throughout here is also abortion is health care. No, because somebody is always dying in an abortion. So,
well, and again, the thing's pushing on schools. Use the restroom, locker room, and facilities that identify their gender. Participate in school-related activities, including athletic teams, that align with their gender identity. In other words, they have something called Cool for School, Back to School Toolkit for Trans Rights. Trans is beautiful.
Have they actually seen?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, because you can tell that it's a dude with makeup.
well, and this is
Yeah.
again, what is a transgender student? I just don't understand what that means exactly, because kids don't get a choice. Okay,
Yeah.
it's and again, the parents, the doctors, I put a lot of the blame on those two. Any doctor that does this stuff to a child,
Oh, yes.
should have their license revoked, because that is not the oath that they took. But again, what is a transgender student?
Well, someone who doesn't identify with their born gender.
Okay, but that's not what transgender is. I mean,
You're transitioning between genders, I guess.
okay, but
Yeah,
I
I
guess
know.
I'm still lost at how that could apply to a kid in junior high.
Well, it should.
They're not even through puberty.
Yeah.
How could
well,
they be transitioning in anything?
when they get them on puberty blockers, they'll never transition.
Well,
so.
that's true. Respecting transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming young people isn't just the law, it's the right thing to do for Minnesota students. That's because trans inclusion is a life or death issue.
Well, that's true. When you look at the numbers.
They cite the Minnesota Student Survey, which we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah. But when you look at the numbers, people who transition too young have a much higher rate of suicide.
Well, of course, they transition. And what are you going to do? Turn back the clock? You can't.
No. I mean, you hear stories of a lot of people that detransition, but still they're not guaranteed to be able to have children. They're not guaranteed to ever look the same, or, it really is
It's not
something
possible.
that you cannot fully undo. It is a forever thing. And we've got people willy-nilly out there, whether it's the school districts, the children's hospitals, and shame on you for saying you take care of children and then whisking them through this transition process without fully explaining to them the ramifications of the changes they're making. For all those that are trying to do this without the parents and keeping the parents in the dark, it's ridiculous.
Quite frankly, it's just sickening.
As with any good liberal group, there are a number of partnerships and coalition building that they engage in. We mentioned Unrestrict Minnesota already. They serve on the steering committee for the Equal Pay Today campaign to eradicate the longstanding gender wage gap impacting the economic security of women and families.
What do you mean women?
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyone who feels like one, I'm sure. Is there really... There's been so many arguments against there being a wage gap. Yes, there are things that traditionally women, they stay home, oftentimes, or at least take time off when there's a baby, or...
Here's the issue, though.
Yeah.
You can't break it down just on pay.
Right.
Some people are more ambitious than others.
Yeah.
Some people work harder than others.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the achievement gap. It's like there's always going to be disparities because of, let's be honest, some kids are smarter than others. I mean, it's just everybody has talent that is different.
Yeah.
And so the idea that, like you said, okay, yes, women take time off for being mothers. Women, maybe men are just more cutthroat out there in the business world. I don't know. Maybe, men get in careers that, there's, whether that's doctors, lawyers, business owners, and women still, I don't think they're pigeon-held, but I still think a lot of them gravitate toward traditional careers, whether that's a teacher, a nurse, something like that. How many times do you see the man as the doctor, the woman as the nurse?
Less, I think.
Less, but it's still there.
Yeah.
So I think that ultimately, so many things within careers are what you make of them.
Right.
And not necessarily somebody putting a wall in front of you saying, no, you can't. I mean, if a woman wants to do a career, there's nobody there saying, no, you can't do it because you're a woman.
Right.
It just comes down to a matter of how far you want to get in life. And sometimes somebody opens a door for you. Sometimes they don't.
Right. No, that's true.
But what I mean by that is I'm a white guy, and I don't believe anything's been handed to me.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
That's my honest take on it. So when somebody talks about my white privilege, I work 60 hours a week. What are you talking about?
Yep.
What do you mean?
I've had to scratch and claw for anything I've ever accomplished.
I've been broke many a time. I've been down and out. I've been jobless. What are you talking about privilege? I've had times I haven't had a car.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. So again, I mean, you can make one of two choices. You can play the victim, or you can go change things.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's true. Okay, other groups they work with. Narrative Justice League. Is that like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, or is
I don't
that,
think so.
Okay.
Who else is in that? Spider-Man? And...
I think he was in Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Not DC. Yeah, who else
Incredible
was
Hulk?
Aquaman, was he in that?
I think so.
Yeah.
My nephew used to like him.
Yeah, I think so. Green Lantern.
Something like that. Green Giant? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I
One
don't
of
know.
them.
Could you imagine that? The Narrative Justice League. Oh, what a miserable place.
Maybe they just read a lot of books. They narrate.
Yeah, that could be. That could be.
Don't look them up. I don't even want to know what they are.
Okay.
Do they
Learning from a nimble and powerful narrative coalition. Oh, boy.
do they endorse people? Did they endorse people in the last camp? I mean, I'm sure they. Maybe they can't if they're a 501c3.
Yeah, that could be. I'd have to look that up and see if they're a 501c3. So, Narrative Justice League, Minnesota Women's Consortium.
Consortium?
Yeah.
Consortium?
Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's how Ric Flair pronounced it. Consortium! Woo!
The Alliance, State Advocates for Women's Rights and Gender Equality.
Interesting how they use equality, not equity.
Yeah.
And what's this women's stuff again?
Yeah.
About the trans people.
Are all these women in on the trans thing? I don't buy that.
Yeah, what about the non-binary people?
Yeah. Courts Matter, Minnesota.
No, I prefer the courts don't matter.
All above all. I'm sorry, if there was abortion justice, everybody that performs an abortion would be in jail for murder because...
Or the baby would get a vote too.
The baby would maybe get its life back. Maybe that would be something. All these groups. How do they have this many different groups? Some
of these groups could be like 3 people sitting on a computer.
But they still have more money than us because it's funded by George Soros and whoever else.
Maybe more money than you, but probably not me.
Well, I mean, as an organization, I'm not talking about. They don't have a penny outside of the organization. These people, really, they've never worked a job in their life.
Probably not. The money probably goes to pay, but that's just the whole thing. These people are 24/7 activists.
Yeah, exactly. The paid family in the Coalition for Paid Family and Medical Leave, and then gender justice is proud to be supported by the Women's Foundation of Minnesota. Yeah, a lot of women speaking up on the behalf of either abortion and or
Well,
trans
I wonder if
folks.
they know they are. I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder how many of them realize that, it's kind of like there was a long period of time that like the breast cancer people, like
Yeah.
I won't give money to them anymore
Right.
because they support abortion, like the Susan Komen
Susan
Fund.
Komen, yeah.
They don't really. I always wondered what they did with their money, and when I found out what they did, I won't
Yeah.
participate.
I thought you were
anymore.
curing cancer, not killing babies.
Yeah, I mean, but they're basically a front group for pro-abortion folks,
Yeah.
and so it's not something I support.
No.
And, despite I have mixed feelings on whether abortion should be legal or not, but I'm not personally supporting it for 1 second.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This group, Gender Justice, was in partnership with the ACLU Minnesota and law firm Stinson Leonard Street. They're currently, it says, so they're currently representing a transgender man, which I don't know if that's a woman who then is trying to become a man or vice versa. I don't know how that works. And former high school student. The former student school district in Okehennepin is once again charged with violating the constitutional and civil rights of LGBTQ students. And this is sad because they lost the first time that they got taken to court on this. The school district lost. If I was in charge of a school district and I was told by a court that I had to allow for transgender bathrooms, I still would not do it. You'd have to take me to jail. I'm not kidding. You'd have to take me to jail. Just like with this respect for the family or respect for marriage act that just passed federally, there's supposedly nothing in there for religious exemptions. Sorry, I got to stand where I got to stand. So that's just the way it goes. So yeah, they have gone to bat again with the Hennepin and Anoka School District, and just to look through this. So April 2018, there's a letter to the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. 2019, complaint filed with Anoka County. Also in 2019, judge's order denying defendant's motion to dismiss and granting the motion to intervene. 2020, judge decides segregating and discriminating against transgender students violates state constitution, Human Rights Act. That's to $300,000 settlement plus additional reforms. $300,000 settlement. Taxpayer money being taken away out of the classroom, taken out of kids' pockets.
No, I'm sure it's paid for by insurance, but yeah.
And
Either way,
then
you have to pay.
Who pays for that? It's dues that pay for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes out of taxpayer money.
It's all taxpayer money in one form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again they caved. And I'm not surprised. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, and all that does is embolden more. I mean, all it does is, because the mob's never satisfied. So, if anything, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, it is. So, I don't know. So, this is one group, and they seem to be, I've never heard of them before, but they seem to be in everything all over the place and linked up with everybody.
Well, not a surprise there. But again, I go back to what does this mean for all of us? It means your school district, your county, your city are just going to be inundated with this. It's already happened in Hennepin County. We talked about it last week with the contracts. I assume it'll happen in cities as well, which means corporations will go along with it to get all the government money. They'll do the same. And once again, when business and government get together, we all grab our ankles. So, I mean, that's how this stuff goes. Nobody's going after the people. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going after. Notice what's missing there is, trying to persuade any of us, that they're on the right path. It's all no. We're going to meet with partners. We're going to sue people. We're going to lobby politicians. Whether we want this or not, screw us. Doesn't matter.
It's just bullying. That's all it is.
Yeah, it is bullying.
It's lowbrow bullying.
And they have the anti-bullying part too.
Right.
And the funny thing is, they're the biggest bullies on the block.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the past we've talked about that, how the whole anti-bullying legislation was in and of itself endorsing bullying. It just laid out who could bully who.
Well, it made certain groups victims and certain groups not victims. It's if somebody checks enough boxes, they're automatically the victims, and if they don't check boxes, we don't care.
Right.
So, yeah, just another. I'll tell you what. I get so tired of looking up these groups and having a new one. I mean, we've been doing this for so long, not just the podcast, but for everything. And every time you turn around, there's another group pushing crap, that you've never heard of that has money, power, influence, and their friends are starting to run things after a while, and it's going to take some segment of our society to say no, and I don't know who that's going to be. It doesn't matter if the people say no, if all the institutions say yes.
Yeah, it's no longer government for and by the people. It is a government for and by special interest groups and law firms. And it just amazes me. I mean, again, I go back to the silence of women's groups. I go back to watching a man swimming and destroying world records, and women's groups completely silent. Yeah.
Like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Are you really that scared to offend what are trans people? 0.00001% of the population that you'd abandon everything that you fought for?
Yeah. They say it's 3% that are trans, but
1 out of 30 people
No.
3%, my butt.
Yeah.
God, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So how many people would that be in the United States? I mean, that'd be like 10 million.
Yeah.
It's impossible. No way would I believe that.
Oh.
I mean, unless they're including every tomboy they ever met or something. I mean, that's just...
Well, I mean, in some schools, I know it's a pretty high percentage because they've been working on the kids and they have been promoting this, and they,
Okay, here's the thing. If you're not 18, you don't count. It's just like you don't take polls of people, of 10-year-olds.
Right.
Let's see in 10 years what those kids think.
Yeah.
Get
a job, get a family, get kicked in the teeth a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see
get
how
off
you feel.
mom's couch and we'll see. So I put nothing, like I've said before, you see something where millennials are quoted and Gen Z people, that's a great way to just ignore. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to say, you know what? Pay no attention to that.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they say.
Right.
I know me, I was different.
Yeah.
I was different at that time, and I'm not ashamed to say so. I was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I was 18, I was a little more Republican and a little less, not less. I equated it with conservative, and now I'm conservative. I'm not Republican.
Well, I don't ever remember feeling that I had an ideology, but I remember, leaving things blank on the ballot that I didn't know. I remember trying to vote independent if I could.
Yeah.
It really wasn't until about 2002 that I pretty much voted red down the line. And then I did that for a while, and then I've gone away from that in the past 2 or 3 cycles.
Yeah. Well, like I've said before, I mean, I voted for Perot. I didn't vote for Dole.
In 96.
Yeah.
Did you vote in 92?
Yeah. I would have had to vote. No. What, did I?
You'd have been 19?
No, I would have been. I turned 18 in 1992.
Oh, okay.
So, didn't I? No, I would have turned 19, wouldn't I have? Yeah, I would have turned 19 in 92. I was 18 when I graduated, but that was in June. Yes. So
you
I would have voted. Yeah. So, and that was
the Perot Clinton, the first time Clinton ran against George Bush Sr.
I think I might have. Did I vote for Bush my first time out? I might have. I was pretty green. And I don't think it took me long to figure out he was a globalist. You know, but voting for him, I couldn't pull the lever for Romney, couldn't pull the lever for McCain.
Really?
I voted Constitution Party both of those times. Yeah.
Who was the Constitution Party?
Oh goodness. The first time it was Chuck Baldwin.
Was it Castle or was he?
No, that was the second time.
Oh,
Castle
okay.
was the second time. Chuck Baldwin was the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I voted for McCain and Romney.
Of course you did. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I didn't care for Gary Johnson very much.
Yeah.
And maybe my views have changed a little bit since then, but it was, I don't know. I voted for Bush Jr. both times.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've actually voted Republican in every presidential race except the first one.
Huh.
Where I voted for Clinton. And then Bill Clinton was probably the biggest reason I quit being a Democrat. He was probably number one. I got tired of defending the guy. Guy was indefensible. And it just was, get me away from this guy. And I still to this day don't understand why he's revered in Democratic circles. I've always scratched my head on that even though I don't think he was a terrible president, I don't. But
his second term, he had to come to the middle, and he was better.
His second term, he didn't do anything. He was president for about a couple of months.
Yeah.
Go back to 97. He was basically on vacation all year. Then it was survive impeachment. Then it was get Hillary elected. And that was his whole second term. It was useless. And there's things he could have been doing. He saw the dot-com bubble coming a mile away.
Yeah.
He saw Al-Qaeda getting stronger every week. I mean, there's plenty of stuff he could have been doing.
Right.
So he just staved it off until George W. was president.
There's a lot to do, like getting on Epstein's plane and riding around, and
I mean, it's just I don't know. I think I had a problem. There was a few things about Perot that turned me off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought he was kind of like a rich guy trying to get attention. Even though I thought he had some good ideas, I thought some of them were equally crazy. And I think for Bob Dole, who I've always respected, I think he looked, everybody talks, we sit here and it's taboo to talk about President Biden's age.
Yeah.
Dole was much younger, not much younger, but I think he was about 72-ish when he ran. Mm-hmm. And I think his physical handicaps made him look a lot older.
Yeah.
I looked at that guy and said, man, that guy looks like he's going to... The whole campaign was about his age.
Right.
And it worked on me. Honestly, it worked on me because I think a younger Republican with more energy and more ideas, not this old war horse who'd been in the Senate for 40 years, I could have been persuaded, I think.
Yeah, I look at Reagan,
Yeah, exactly. Look at President Trump. What is he, 75 now?
Yeah.
And he looks 30 years younger than Joe Biden.
Right. And Reagan was younger than Biden is, and still they were terrible to him.
Reagan was younger than Biden the day he left office.
Yes.
Okay.
But yet they were terrible to him and about his age and stuff like that, and wanted to take naps and but not one word about this.
Yeah, I know. It's totally John McCain, they were the same way too, because he had that form of skin cancer or something, and but they were pretty nasty to him, I thought. And that was the media that loved him turned on him when they found Obama, who they loved more. I mean, it's definitely changed. We just go back to watching The Tonight Show, and I love Jay Leno, but he spent a year and a half mocking Dole's age, which is fair game. But I mean, it's just kind of funny how age mattered then and doesn't matter now. I don't get it. So
yeah, well, none of these late night comedians really are worth their weight in
late night TV has never
dog
been worse.
poop.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
I would yearn just yearn to watch Leno, Letterman. I loved Arsenio Hall. I thought they were great.
But could they even find writers today that would write the kind of jokes that they were telling back then?
Yeah, I
don't know.
I think that show would thrive.
I do too.
I think the anti-politically correct show would reintroduce All in the Family, and it'd be the number one show on TV.
Probably. I mean, look how popular Chappelle is right now.
Well, right, or Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think people are yearning for a non-conforming, I'm using their language,
Right.
non-conforming person to come along and just say what everybody's thinking, but in a comedic way. And I sit here and I wonder in 20 years if we're going to have stand-up comedians. We're going to have Saturday Night Live anymore? Because you can't satire certain protected groups anymore.
Right. Yep.
Like, I always point to this. You remember the guys? Mike Myers was one of them, and Chris Farley was another. They were Bears, Doubles. Well, there was one. This is the one I watched it back, and I just laughed my ass off because they had the guy from Cheers, Norm, was on there.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, it says here in the paper, San Francisco's picked to win the Super Bowl." And one of them says, "Heh, you know who's happy about that?" And they raise their beers and they go, "Duck queers, and cling their glasses." And I just laughed my ass off. But that would never get past anything today.
Right.
There's no way that could go on the air. That would never happen. It would be the controversy of a lifetime if that aired now.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it'd be the number one show if it was this like I would say this. You want to make wrestling popular again? I'd have a wrestler who embraces Putin. I'd have a wrestler who hates transgenders. I'd have a wrestler who... I'm serious.
Yeah.
I would do that. And then, boom. What do you want to bet the ratings quadruple?
Yeah.
So, but you got a woke corporation running it now. So.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if there's any hope for any of it.
I don't think there's any. That's why I just watch stuff from the past, relive the good old days, I guess. I don't know. Jay, it's that time again. Well, you've got to optimism, which won't work on me. Styling and profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jay, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, I mean, there you go. I don't know. It's a touchy subject, but we need to stop right there. Anytime we want to say, it's a touchy subject, we probably shouldn't be speaking out about it. That's exactly when we need to speak out about it. That is exactly when we need to risk being called every name in the book, risk being run up one side and down the other, risk being canceled, risk having our businesses picketed and shut down and our lives put on hold. Because if we don't, we lose. And I know that's a hard decision to make, especially when you're responsible for other people. When you've got kids, when you've got a family, when you're running a business and you've got employees, when you've got all these things that kind of put you front and center, and you got to think about those other people. But you've got to train them to do this the right way, because we need numbers. And the best way to come at this is straight on. And we do it by sticking together. And if we don't stick together, what do we got? We ain't got nothing. We're just a lone ranger out there on a limb waiting to get chopped down. We got to have each other. We have got to stick together, because if we don't, we will all surely fall. So what do? How do we come against groups like this that are well organized, well funded, tied in with lawyers? We gotta accept the risk, and we gotta move forward, because it's the right thing to do. I don't want to put anybody at risk around me. I certainly don't, but you're not going to shut me up. And we've been put here to raise a stink. We've been put here to raise a standard. And we're going to continue to do that. Yeah, elections might be done for 2022, but you know what? We're already into the election seasons for 2023 and 2024. And if we don't continue to move forward and take seats where we can get them and govern wisely and prudently, if we don't go into the schools and straighten things out, we're in for a rude awakening. As George Washington said, and let me go with this quote from Reagan, that we're always one generation away from losing freedom. And once we lose it, I don't know how you get that back. I don't know how you put the lightning back in the bottle. That American spirit, that go-getiveness, that we have to be excited about the opportunity to live in freedom. We have to be excited about the opportunity to be able to freely speak, to freely act, to pursue our own happiness without somebody else telling us that we can't do that because it's not fair. It's not fair that you own a home and XYZ over here doesn't. It's not fair that you have a nice car and this person over here has to take the bus. Everybody should have to take the bus. Then we're all equal. Everybody should have a home. Everybody deserves to have this. Everybody deserves to have that. But yet if you visit a third world country, they are starving. They are sometimes homeless. The homes that they have are very subpar compared to the American mansions that we have. So what are we going to do differently? How are we going to adjust our mental state, our mind frame, to be able to accommodate what goes on when you compare between a third world country and this one? Well, we're not in a third world country. We shouldn't have to make those comparisons. Well, you know what? We're headed in that direction because we refuse to take a look at the answers. We need to stand tall. We need to stand strong. We need to stand. And when we've done everything that we know how to do, we continue to stand. But this doesn't work if just one or two people step out and nobody else does it. This is why we all have to come together and we all have to do our part. We're all part of one organization, one army where we have each other's backs, we have each other's flanks, and we need to be aware of what is coming down the pike so that we can alert each other and stand and fight against it. We can truly win. But it takes you. It takes me. So what are you going to do about it? That's the question. We have to do things differently. We can and we will, but you've got to step out. No more of these woke progressives pushing their way around and acting like they own the place. No, instead, we have to stand. And I hope that we can count on you to do that with us. I do. Something going on in your community or you want to know how to get involved? email us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That is commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And we will build this thing one brick at a time. Brick by boring brick, we are going to get things done. But we can't give up on each other. Now is crunch time. Now we need you more than we ever have. Now is the time that liberty falls or liberty is saved forever. So let's do this. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.
Take my life, caught a break between the lines. Don't let me be. If I get too caught